there, Fro Nation, and welcome to the first and last of RAWtalk for 2012/13th. I am 13, not 13th. Recording this, today is January 1st, and as some of you guys have seen, I've done my predictions for 2013, and I want to take a look back at 2012 in this RAWtalk, what cameras came out, what I thought about those cameras. Just going over the year, it was a busy year for camera manufacturers, the big guys, some of the smaller guys that are up and coming, the Samsungs, the Panasonics. Sony is not a little guy, but they're up and coming in the camera field with Olympus and all of that. We'll hit the Nikons, the Canons, the Fujis, and move on from there. But I'm pretty much flying solo this week. I thought it would be good to wrap up the year, to do the predictions in more detail. I did put out a 10-minute or so video with predictions and asked you guys what you thought about the ones that I made. And I want to go into more detail about some of those and where I see the whole industry going. And some different questions that people brought up. Because I'm flying solo, I will answer some of your questions that you basically put up on the Facebook for me to answer. Because I always think that's fun when you guys ask questions, and it gives me a chance to interact with you as we go through in the RAWtalk. So we're going to get started. I'm just going to jump right into this and keep an eye out. Keep an eye out. Let's see, an ear out for the special word, the secret word of the week for the RAWtalk. I don't know what it's going to be yet, but at some point during this RAWtalk, I will throw that all out there. So let's jump into 2012. I've got a bunch of notes, but let's take a look back before we take a look forward and just talk about it. There were so many pro digital SLR cameras that came out this year. Places like Allen's Camera were so busy with 5D Mark IIIs, Canon 6D, Nikon D600, Nikon D800. The D4 was announced last year, I think. So that wasn't this year where it came out. I don't think, or did it? It may have come out this year. In fact, I think it did come out this year. Yeah, I think the D4 was new for this year. Anyway, I picked it up this year. I got it, so I'm happy with it. Let's look at some cameras. We got Canon. Canon put out the 1DX. Now, it took them much longer to get this thing out. I remember they showed it at CES last year, and it took them forever. They announced something 6 months before it came out. It's probably a fan-freaking-tastic camera. I know the guys that use it, and they love the 1DX. I would love to try it. If I had the Hebrew Trinity on the Canon side, I would totally pick up one. I sent an email out to Borrow Lenses guys because they've got the equipment. So I may just borrow a 1DX from them, maybe do some kind of trade with them, and get a 1DX, get a 16 to 35, 24 to 70, 70 to 200, 2.8 VR or IS2, and just go and shoot, because that would really be cool to see how that compares to my D4. Not that I would. I don't know. Who knows if I would consider switching. I just want the best camera I want to get the best results. And I think I'd get great results with either. I think there's going to be pros and cons to both. I'm really happy with my D4, but I'd really be curious to see what the top of the line on the Canon side brings. A 1DX would be fun to use. Canon then came out with the 5D Mark III, which is probably one of the most popular cameras out this year. It replaced the 5D Mark II, which they just retired last week. That camera was one of the greatest cameras in all of camera history. Top selling, I would have to assume, because it was just so well received with the full frame capability, but mostly for the video. The high ISO capability of that camera was crap. I think it was like 1600 ISO, and that was about it. But that camera was well received. But the 5D Mark III is a solid offering from Canon. And then they put out the 6D recently, which I just filmed a 6D / Nikon D600 comparison video, which I'm going to put up sometime soon. That is a very good camera that they put out. It was the year of the full-frame affordable cameras, because not only did they put it out, but Nikon goes ahead and puts out a D800 and a D800E with a D600 full-frame camera. All of them are really cool. I mean, the D800, I have one sitting here right now that Nikon sent with the 35-1.4 because I requested that lens. That's a killer lens. The 800, I wish it was better. I mean, I love the D600. I love picking up that camera and shooting it. I love having the video quality with a full frame that I could put a 14 to 24 on and turn around and talk to the camera. It basically obsoleted my D7000. I never liked the D7000, honestly, to begin with myself. Yes, it's a good camera. It was good. It's a good learning camera for people starting out. It does a video is fine. But when I throw a 14 millimeter on there and it's a 26 or whatever millimeter lens it ends up being when you multiply it by 1.5, it's not kind of what I want. I don't want that. I don't want a, let's see, 14, I don't know, a 20-some millimeter lens. I don't want that. I want my 14 millimeter to be my 14 millimeter. But, so Nikon and Canon put out some major cameras this year, and they're great. Oh, Canon also puts out things like the 1DC. We're going to start seeing a lot more, and I'm going to talk about this further on in this RAWtalk about the convergence of video cameras like the 1DC that takes 4K video and starting to pull stills out of them, whether I think that that's going to ruin photography or if that's where photography is going to go. But I want to get to that a little later after we go over some predictions and stuff. But so Nikon and Canon had a busy year. Sony had an extremely busy year putting out an A99. That's their full-frame camera. For all of you guys out there who are asking why I don't do Sony reviews, because they don't send them to me. I've asked, I've been put in touch with the right people, and they haven't done it. You know what they said to me about the A99, and I'm sure this will not help my case in all this, but they said, like, oh, we could put you on the list and maybe have it to you in a month or two. And I'm like, look, by the time you get me that, everybody's going to have a review of it. And honestly, I've got a pretty damn big site and reach today that you might want to consider sending me some of your gear to review. And that's not arrogance speaking, man. No, I'm confident in what we've got. But this community, the Fro Nation, is so freaking big, and it's global. It reaches far beyond a lot of other websites' reaches because of you. You guys have found it, and it's huge around the world, and that is why Sony should send me gear to play with, because this is global. It's not just like some of the other tech sites out there that really only reach, 90% of their readers are in the US and some spread out around the world. We've got a lot in the US, but I think we've got half of the readership around the world, because there's more to just the world than the United States, as many of us know. But that's a little side tangent on the Sony. A99, I'd love to try it. I'm not sure about the fixed mirror, the mirror that doesn't flip out because it's translucent. We know that Canon tried that back in the day. It was like a film camera, the fixed pellicle mirror, as they called it, but you lost light. Now, that was more important then when 800 and 1600 film was the top that you could push it. But when you can push a camera to 5000, 6400, 12800, I don't think that quarter of a stop is going to kill you as much. I don't like losing light. That's why I don't use a filter in front of my lenses. So I'm not sure that I would want to use a fixed pellicle mirror or whatever they call it. But it's an interesting technology that may find its way into, I don't know. I don't think I want to have a freaking piece of glass in front of my sensor. I guess you're running into possibilities of not having cleanliness in your files. And I don't want to lose light. I'm taking a drink. So that's Sony. They did a full-frame point-and-shoot camera this year, which is just a joke. It's like $2,300. I guess for all the rich people that want to buy a toy that's a full frame that think they need it and have zero control over their camera because it's a point-and-shoot, good for them. You can buy a really expensive full-frame camera. But Sony came onto the market huge in the past couple years, and yes, in 2012 with the NEX. The NEX, 5 and the NEX 7 are cameras that people are just loving. They also are putting full frame sensors or the whole NEX video cameras together with the NEX sensors and the lenses that you can use on the still bodies and the video bodies. This is my feeling on the NEX system. I haven't used one. It's really cool. It's really small. It looks pretty good. But the thing is, if you're going to have a mirrorless system like that and start putting big hunks of glass on it again, then why in the world am I not just going to carry around my DSLR, my D4, my D600, my D800? Not that I own either of those. I own a D4 and I don't own any other. The only other body I personally own Well, I own other bodies, but pro body, the D4 is the only one I own. I have a D7000, which I want to get rid of. I should give it away. I have a D3000 for teaching from back in the day. I gotta find the freaking battery charger for that. When I moved, I don't know what the hell I did with the battery charger for the 3000. I also have a D70 sitting on the floor here. I've got a non-functioning stuttering D2H that the autofocus doesn't work, but the camera still works. But I actually don't have a battery for it because when I got rid of my D3S, the batteries are different on the D4, so I shipped all those out to the guy who bought it. So I don't actually have a battery for the D2H. Oh well. What else? Sony. Yeah, the Next system. They keep shrinking them, and the bigger why would I want to take a big piece of glass around on that if I'm not going to take my other bodies? So unless they're putting smaller pancakey style lenses on there, I don't really get the point. Plus, if you don't have a viewfinder, you're kind of, for me, defeating the purpose of composition. You don't get as good of a picture holding the camera out in front of your face as you do as if you're looking through a viewfinder. And that hasn't changed. I mean, that's photography. You've always had to look through a viewfinder to see what you're getting. Until now, you get the live view aspect, but I just still think live view doesn't cut it. And this isn't a live view discussion, so that's Sony. They've put out a lot of stuff this year. Then you get the guys like Panasonic, Samsung, Olympus, Pentax, which people are probably cheering that I mentioned the word Pentax. Pentax is weird. They have their niche market, but I don't get how they're still in business. Olympus, people like the OEM, or is it the OM? What did they put out, the OM? And somebody handed me a card at the Photo Plus from Olympus about me trying out their camera. I'd like to try out that camera. I think DP Review rated it, ranked their top 3 cameras, and the OM was the best of the cameras. I guess the most sought after, the highest vote getter. I'd like to try it because it does have a viewfinder, but again, I am not a Micro Four Thirds fan. We're going to talk about this for predictions, and we're going to get into a mirrorless discussion because I want to discuss it and the convergence of video and stills coming along. But Panasonic, Samsung, Panasonic and Samsung are companies to watch. Panasonic is breaking into the market with their SLR-style Micro Four Thirds cameras. We played with that at Photo Plus. It's very interesting. Samsung has a shit ton of cameras out there, whether it's Aunt Kitty, what are you doing? Holy crap, the kitty just bolted. Anyway, Kitty's like running around like it's a track out there. Will you stop running around? No, I mean, continue to run around, but I can't play. What the kitty does is he takes the wristbands, the iShoot wristbands, and he chases them around the house. He picks them up and he bats at them. But anyway, Samsung has they're really pushing into the market. I mean, they've taken over the TV market. They've really pushed into the phone market, the tablet market, and now the camera market. They're doing a great job, and I expect big things from them. But again, I'm not sure that it's a direction that I want to go. We're going to talk about more predictions. We got like Toshiba. I was reading about the Lytro and how Toshiba is working on their own type of camera, their own type of sensor with tons of lenses on them to try to do the same thing that Lytro does, and basically put it into cell phones. So if they do that and Lytro doesn't sell the technology or something, or it's not, they switch the patent, I think Lytro's in trouble there. But they have to sell out. They have to sell the license to the big companies, so I'll start letting them make the technology for the camera phones, because that's point and shoots for people to change their focus. I mean, that's what the point and shoot people care about, is focus, and they miss focus a lot. It's not something I want to see in the pro model. I could care less about selective focus after the fact. I want to get it right. That's what I want to get right in the camera. I can't see messing that crap up and needing it water. So that's what you got. You got to look back at this year. I know that doesn't cover everything, but the mirrorless market has really exploded with everybody putting one out, including Nikon and even Canon with their M series, and Nikon has the Nikon 1, and then they come out with the 2, and they're probably going to announce the 3. And another reason for me making this video, this podcast on January 1st, is that when I make a prediction, it's because I don't know shit yet. I don't know what's going on for 2013 because I haven't been told anything super secret. That may happen tomorrow, but these are predictions that I'm making before I know anything and before CES and what's getting announced by Canon and Samsung and all of these guys. So that's why I'm doing it now. And you can see that it is recorded on the 1st, because if you look at the doc on the video, the calendar right in the middle says the 1st. So if anybody ever comes after me and says, you broke your rules and you told secrets after you knew them, I didn't tell secrets because I didn't know. It's January 1st, 2013 at 2:45 in the afternoon is when we're recording this. So that's the look back. Predictions. Let's get into these predictions that I have for 2013. I made that video and, you know, I think it was received pretty well. Predictions are fun. You throw them out there. Excuse me. You throw them out there, and if you're right, you're right. You're wrong, you're wrong. But if you're right, it sounds better because you're one right for 9 wrongs is like you're a freaking genius. Even though you're really not, because you just threw stuff out there. I want to start with the Nikon, the D4S. You know, I said this. If you've seen that video, I'm going to elaborate more on some of the stuff. But D4S, you know, every 2 years, Nikon replaces the pro bodies, except for the D3X now. At least that's the method they had. They had the D3 followed by the D3S exactly 2 years later. Because I know that it was so funny. I bought the D3 as soon as it came out, and then when the D3S came out, when I traded, or I sold mine, I think, or who did I trade it to? Maybe Alan took it, and the receipt date was the same date that I bought the D3 2 years prior. And that's incredible that they replaced it. So I'm thinking a D4S will be announced in November or December of 2013, but it won't be released into 2014. And I think they're going to get rid of the XQD card. What other cameras on the market? I don't even know if Sony offers a camera on the XQD market. Maybe in the video end, but how do you not even represent your own freaking card? It's like beta tapes. It's going to go the way of the original beta for home use. Super beta is still around, but beta tapes failed. So I think the XQD card was a mistake. Now, I don't care that I have an XQD card in my camera. I'm not going to go hoard XQD cards because I'll probably get rid of this camera. I don't think it hurts it. I just don't think it helped it. Why not just keep XD cards or go all in? Go all in on XQD, because why do I need to have two formats of cards in my camera? And I yelled at Nikon. I didn't yell at them. I just yelled in general when I was sitting in the room and they showed me this camera the first time. I'm like, but why would you give me 2 memory cards slots that are different? Either pick one or the other. And I don't care if you give me the new one, because I would adapt to the new technology, because the card is great. The XQD card is awesome. It's fast. It's smaller. There's no pins involved. It's kind of like an SSD drive, and that's good. You know, we don't need those pins. Who needs those stinking pins anymore in a CF card? So that's what I see. I see in 2013, they're going to announce a D4. What will it do better? It's going to change the cards. I don't know. They'll switch the sensor up a little bit. They won't fully replace the camera until the D5, but that's what I got for that. High-end pro body? Yes. Let's just say I think we'll see a D4X. I think they're going to put it out. There is a big difference between having a D800 and a pro body. And I don't call a D800 a pro body. It is not a pro body. I consider cameras that are pro bodies to have a built-in grip, meaning it doesn't come off. It's a bigger camera. It's got a bigger battery. It's built better. It's sealed better. It's got more pro-end feel and features and build. That's a pro body. A D800 isn't. My thing is, if anybody can own it, it's not a pro camera. Now, anybody can own a D4, and I don't want to get yelled at for saying that, but not as many people are going to own a D4 as a D800. And a D800 is not a match for a Hasselblad because it's 36 megapixels. It's not even a match for the D4 in my opinion. I think a D4 is better quality images, better high ISO capability, and all around just a better camera. 36 megapixels is a freaking lot. But give me a 24 megapixel. What is it? D4 is what, 16? I don't even know the megapixels anymore because I try not to even care because it's about the dynamic range and the high ISO capability. And you're going to start seeing better sensors. Well, we're now talking about 2013, but so yeah, I think you'll see a full a pro end body above the D4. Whether it's 36 megapixels with a different sensor, I think you're going to see something. And maybe it's going to introduce some massive new technology that's going to revolutionize the industry. You know how Samsung, Sigma has the Foveon sensor with multiple layers of sensor grabbing capability for light. I know it could be interesting, so I don't want to talk too much about that. D7000 / D300S replacement, merging the DX system. There are too many cameras on the low end. D3200, D5200, D7000, D300S, D600, D800. Jesus, criminy crappity. You've got a lot of cameras down there. I wish they would merge. Well, I guess they can't merge a D3200 and a D5200 because Canon on their end has the T series and then the TI series. So I just think they need to do away with the 7000 and merge it with a D300S. I mean, it's a higher end. Do they even need to? I mean, if it comes out and it's a $1,300 body, so yeah, I guess they need a $1,299 body, and then $700 or $800 more would get you a D600 full frame body. Do they even need to come out with one? I think they're going to. I think they're going to come out with a high end. No, not a high end. The top end DX camera. It's going to feel like a D300S. It's going to feel even like a D600, which leads me to believe maybe they don't even freaking need it. Just drop the price of a 600, make it a better price. And here's a prediction. I predict sub $1,000, that means $999.95 or 99 cents, full frame cameras. I'm thinking they're coming out not in 2000 what are we in, 13? Shit. 2013. I don't think they're a year away. I think they're 2 to 2.5 years away. I'm going to go with the 2 years. So sometime around the middle of 14, yes, coming up for Photokina 2000 Photokina will be 14, right? Because it was 12, 13 is off, so that comes back in 14. I think you're going to see your first sub $1,000 full frame sensors coming for Nikon, Canon, Sony, and everybody else in between. And while we're at predictions, why don't we kind of predict the death of the DX camera? Now, it's not going to be in a year. Maybe it's not even in 2 years. But at some point, the DX camera just becomes obsolete. Why? Because full frame sensors become cheaper, and the Micro Four Thirds revolution and mirrorless camera revolution takes over well, I'm not going to say the beginner end, but the lower end. And I do consider, I'm going to say it, the mirrorless cameras to be lower end. They are not used by pros. I'm sure there's pros out there who try to use them and tell you that they're amazing and they do these great things, and you can get, let me reiterate this a million times, you can get great pictures with whatever you put in your hands. But to me, a mirrorless camera right now is not that answer, and I don't think it's going to be anytime soon. There's certain things that have been here since the birth of photography, and I think you're going to continue to see that because there's a reason it's been around 130 some years. Well, not the SLRs and things like that, but there's a reason why form factors haven't drastically changed. That's why something like the Lytro, which I'm holding in my hands for those of you guys who can't read, who drastically comes up with a lipstick style, I almost said dildo, camera. It's not big enough to be one of those other things. Earmuffs for all of you out there. Post earmuffs, all right? I said it. That's a revolutionary design. It's not much of an evolutionary design. As I drink water, guys. So, there's a reason why the Lytro, when you see a Lytro 2.0, which I'm going to predict that. I'm just going all off on tangents here. Lytro second generation camera will probably be announced in 2013. I don't have any inside information on this, but there's reason to believe that it's time for them to have the second generation. And I think the second generation is going to start to gain you a new form factor. You know how the Sony Nex system looks? You're going to start seeing a handle on the right-hand side to hold it more like a camera, a better screen. But I don't want to talk too much about Lytro because there's not much there to really that I want to go into. So D7000 merging with the D300S, you're going to get a higher end DX camera, but you're going to be very close to a full frame price. I just $12.99 body only, kit $19.99. I don't know. The D600 is a pretty kick-ass camera, and I don't know how you're going to merge it. So maybe my prediction is just wrong off the bat, and I'm second-guessing myself right away that they may not even do that. I don't know. Maybe they'll just keep the price down. But let's skip past that. Canon. So Canon replace the 7D. And this is the same dilemma here. You got the 6D already, full frame. Do you need a lower end one? I don't think so, but I think they're going to do it. So where I think Nikon will put out that other camera to replace the 7000 and 300S, Canon's going to put out a 7D Mark II. You're going to get, I don't even want to throw specs out. It's just going to be better. I mean, a better sensor, better build quality, better autofocus system. For people that want to spend $1,200 and not spend $2,000 on a full frame body. So that option will be there. Oh, Nikon lenses. Going back, 24 to 70 2.8 is due. Somebody left this comment on, what they thought their predictions were for 2013, and they're like, what do you think? Do you think they'll replace the 24 to 70? And honestly, that got me thinking. The 14 to 24 and the 24 to 70 were announced at the same time. They were announced when the D3 came out, and that is already going back 3 generations. D3, D3S, D4. That's 6 years. That's 6 years, and yes, will they come out with a new 14 to 24? I don't know about the 14 to 24. That lens is still superb today. I don't know if they'll have a version 2. I don't think it needs VR, and that will go for saying with a 24 to 70 2.8 version 2. I think for size, I don't want a VR in it. If I'm doing handheld video, then VR is going to come in handy. That VR in the 70 to 200 f4 is killer. It's 5 stops. Unless they can shrink that down, look at the Canon 24 to 70 that came out. It's along the lines of what the Nikon 24 to 70 is. So I think you'll see a 24 to 70 version 2. It's nano coated already. Maybe they'll just I don't think they'll put in their VR, but I think there's a new one needed. Update, just for an update. So we got that. Canon, what else? High-end pro body, yeah. We're going to call it 56 megapixels. I don't remember what I said in my other one. Maybe I said like 46 or 49. I'm going to say 56 megapixels in a high-end Canon camera, full frame. And I'm even doubting myself right now as I say that because they've got the 1DC and they have those cameras. But if they have a 1DC that does video and they grab stills from it, so why not put out a full, major studio camera again? They haven't done it. Maybe they will, or maybe they won't, but that's the fun about predictions. Sony, let's see, they still don't send me cameras. I think they're just going to keep pushing mirrorless. I know that they keep pushing into the digital SLR field. I predict that Sony will probably just buy out the rest of Olympus. They've already invested in Olympus. They bought Minolta, so they'll just absorb Olympus, maybe keep it a separate, I don't know, why would they keep it a separate company? I don't know, absorb it. But could I maybe say that Sony will get out of the DSLR altogether and just stick and push the next system? I know that's crazy to say, especially with the A99. I don't think it's going to happen soon, but, it's just, they're really pushing the mirrorless. They push the commercials, too, where they go up to people with DSLRs and go, hey, you have a DSLR and you're in auto. Why not just get a Nix system where it does so much better? So that's what Sony's got going. Also, Nikon, I'm calling for the death of the Nikon 1 system. I know they're about to announce, most likely, a Nikon J3, their third model of that. But shit, I think it sucks. I'm going to take water while I get yelled at by Nikon right here. Hold on. The sensor's too small. Why are you going to build your own form factor sensor? Why not join the rest of the crowd with a micro 4/3 sensor and get in on that market? Why make a 1-inch micro sensor but with the same size body as everybody else? I don't understand the point in that. It's just, to me, I just don't like the smaller cameras. That's me. That's me. Photography has blown up around the world. Everybody's taking pictures. Apple's, iPhones, everybody takes pictures with it. But there's just something about the Micro Four Thirds that I'm not a huge fan of. Now, if they made me a Micro Four Thirds that looked like a digital SLR that operated like it, the problem is the high ISO capability and the lenses. You don't have the pro glass. And my feeling is, Panasonic brought to the table at the Photo Plus this year their GH3 or whatever they call it, which was an interchangeable lens, I guess Micro Four Thirds system with the battery grip. It was fantastic. I really liked it, and I liked the viewfinder, the hybrid viewfinders, and the extra information that you get in it. But again, if you're going to spend the money on a camera like that, I want to spend the money on a digital SLR, a D600. A Canon 6D. I want something of substance in my hands. I know that's what she said, but I still want something of substance. I want my lens to feel beautiful in my hands. So mirrorless cameras, Samsung, Panasonic, Pentax, Olympus are going to keep pushing forward in 2013 with their cameras. Sure, the high ISO capability is going to get better and better in the smaller cameras, but they're also going to get better and better with a full-frame sensor. But you're going to see you're seeing the major future in that right now. So let's jump away from the physical cameras a little bit and get into like tech, Facebook and Instagram. You're going to start seeing more integration of Facebook and Instagram. The fact that we can't double tap on the app a picture. How many people of you have gone through Facebook and double clicked, with your in the mobile version, double tapped a photo to try to like it, except you can't. So I think you're going to start seeing some things coming from Facebook going to Instagram and Instagram back to Facebook. I don't think Instagram's going anywhere. I do think, though, that people want better quality pictures with not just these quick snaps. And filters are all cool and all, but they limit you in the possibilities of what you can do. And this is something to watch for in 2013. Google. Because they bought Nik, and they now own Snapseed, and they now made it free where it used to be $4.99. Look for a major push for Google in the photo market. Look for the photo online stuff to go a whole new direction. Be very interested to see if they throw Snapseed online and allow people to edit photos. That's interesting. I want to work on something myself along those lines. But Snapseed's great. So maybe they're going to start building. You can take pictures with Snapseed already. I almost said maybe they're going to start building a social network around it, but Google Plus is there. And I know that one of the readers said something like, hey, you talk about Google Plus and I don't think it's going anywhere. I think Google Plus is going to die in its current form. So I'm going to reiterate this a little bit and explain it and not go back on what I said, where I don't think Google Plus was going to shut down altogether. What I said is that Google Plus is going to take some of their best functions and features like Google Hangouts and rebrand it into something else because they're just not going to take on Facebook. Facebook is 1.1 billion people. I don't know how many, 100 million, if that, on Google Plus, and I don't know how many of them are actually active. I've been reading a lot of reports with TechCrunch on how Google Plus just doesn't have the interactivity. People aren't interacting, but maybe the photo community will, and maybe they will take on somebody like Flickr and take on somebody like Instagram and start to come up with some online resources for photographers, because we know the market is huge. The Fro Nation market is huge to begin with. Imagine the world of photography is just huge. Over the last 5 years, it's blown up. I think it's the fastest growing hobby in the world is photography. Don't forget about the beginner guide for all you fastest growing people out there who are looking to get out of auto. Speaking of beginner guides, prediction for 2013, FroKnowsPhoto beginner flash guide with Adam Lerner joining me to make a flash guide. So look out for that. So Google Plus, I'm going to think in its current iteration, getting rid of it, but they're going to put it into a photography thing. Snapseed's cool. I really think that's good. Yep, photo platform, beginner flash guide. I'm not even going to mention who's going to start shooting RAW. I talked about that. Sigma's got new lenses. Don't want to go into that. Yeah, you guys can watch that video. I think those are my predictions. A couple years down the road, you're going to see full frame in the more lower-end affordable cameras. And that's what I got. What other things? Let me just read some of my notes. We're half an hour in here. Ooh, some stuff to talk about. Ooh, oh yeah. Secret word, I don't have one yet. Mirrorless discussion. Let's just talk about mirrorless for 2 minutes. Then I want to jump off into the convergence of video with stills and starting ripping them out of video. So, mirrorless cameras. I think I already did that rant like 4 minutes ago, so maybe I don't need to go too far into it. Yeah, fine. I don't want to have multiple systems like that. I don't want to have a DSLR system that I invest lenses and money into and then have to invest into a micro four thirds system. Maybe if I just had a basic camera box that gave me the basic functions. I mean, who out there would want a, I don't want to say it. Who out there want to have, I love how I talk out loud. I love how I say, I don't want to say it. Like, I'm not going to tell you what I'm thinking. I don't say it, Jared. It's like I got two people on my shoulders going, say it, don't say it, say it, don't say it. I'm not going to say it. But who out there would want a basic camera that goes back to the very beginning of photography and it's digital, but you have to make all of the changes yourself. There's no meter. You've got your shutter speed, you got your aperture, you got your ISO, and in order to see your results, to see your pictures, you got to guess the setting. And then from there, you've got to re-guess the settings, but you get to see a preview and then you figure out what to do. Shutter speed, aperture. It's like an exposure triangle type camera. But how cool would it be to carry that thing around? I would rather carry something small and simple in a basic package along with my digital SLR that I don't have to invest in 8 million accessories and I don't have to go out into, get more lenses and worry about quality, because I want quality no matter what. I don't give a crap if I'm using my iPhone or if I'm using the Nikon one. I want freaking quality no matter what. That's me as a pro. But that's even me as a person with cameras. Like even the GoPro that just came out, I use it in ProTune because it's like a log file, which is kind of like a RAW file, which a lot of cameras give you. It's a stripped out file with no corrections that you can then make corrections later. It's a higher quality, higher bit rate, more detail, more depth. Why not do that? And I don't think that the world should think about, because you make things smaller and faster and cheaper, that you should lose quality. Quality, 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 quality. There's a secret word right there. Quality 6 times. Quality, 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 quality. 6 qualities. Tweet that out. Make sure you at FroKnowsPhoto. 6 qualities. You could even write quality times 6 if you want, if you don't want to write it out 6 times. And make sure you put in hashtag RAWtalk, and that would be good. Hold on. And who out there would love a camera? And I want to see this. I want you to say that you would want a camera, the basic camera. Who wants that raw camera? There I said it, raw camera. Who wants the camera that takes it back to the basics where you have to make all the decisions? Just say, I want that camera you talked about during RAWtalk. Say that. So those are 2 secret things. You got your 6 qualities times 6, whatever, with honor, sir. And you've got that killer basic camera. Killer, taking it back to the beginning camera. I want to hear your thoughts if you really thought that was a cool idea. So we got that. We got the mirrorless out of the way. I want to save time. I want to save 20 minutes. So in a couple minutes, we're going to get to the questions that people asked. I want to talk about the convergence of videos and stills into one camera. With Canon putting out a 1DC, this is a camera that does it take, I don't even know if it does stills. I don't even know if it has a mirror in it. I would think that it doesn't have a mirror in it because it's, a 4K video camera. It's like a gig every 15 seconds or something. So I saw Canon put out a promotional video about their 1DC, and they gave it to pro photographers to go and shoot video and then pull stills out of it. Now, I'm not going to sit here and tell you that that's going to kill photography. This has been done before. This has been done in the 30s, in the 40s, in the 50s, when they used to use motion cameras, 35 millimeter motion camera film, and pull stills from there. They used to do that. So they've been pulling stills from video for a long time, but I don't, the 35 millimeter stuff has been quality. Excuse me. And now this 4K thing, what they were showing was pretty cool. They were showing people shooting weddings and then pulling wedding photos out of it. That was cool. Do I think that it's going to replace photographers? Absolutely not. there's still something to be said for that decisive moment to be captured in a single solitary frame. That you captured a moment. Lee Harvey Oswald being shot. That moment being captured, that still frame of him being shot and the grimace on his face and Jack Ruby with the gun outstretched is an insane shot. If we just go out there and just let the camera roll and just hope we get something and then go back and pull it later, we're going to lose some creativity. Do I think there is a place for it? Sure. It's very interesting that you could do that at weddings. Are you going to get people that are going to shoot weddings straight up without stills and take 8 million minutes of video and then go through and pick moments? Absolutely. It's going to be a whole huge market. It's going to be amazing. You're going to get quality video, but wedding photographers are going to have to figure out the video aspect more so than the videographers having to fill out the photo aspect. So the tables are turning again, where the tables have turned with video because still photographers had a good, I'm not going to say we know a lot about tech when it comes to shooting video, but I can tell you we can frame a video and we can get the not get the composition right, not only get the composition right, but get the exposures right. I think we had a leg up going from stills to video than the video guys had going to stills, but going the other way around with the convergence of video with stills and pulling files, the video guys are going to now have a leg up again because they can just shoot really cool video and start pulling stills. What the interesting thing is there, and Peter Hurley did this with the F-Stopper guys, where they took a Red Epic that shoots raw video. It's like 15 megapixel raw video. So each frame is a raw file, so you can individually tweak that whole video, but you can go through and pull a raw image out of the video. So Peter's sitting there saying, turn your left clavicle towards the west and go like dip down like you're going to dip some salsa and put your chin out and shebang, He's doing all of that. He's directing the photo shoot, doing video, and then independently going in and picking the frame, where you literally pick from one frame to the next frame and decide which is the right smile. That stuff is pretty amazing and pretty cool. I don't think it's going to replace photographers and still images, but it's an interesting thing, and I'm not going to tell you I wouldn't use it because, it's very interesting. You try to shoot video, you try to shoot stills. It's cool if you could do both at once. Obviously, people would more likely do video, but again, how many hours and hours and terabytes of video are you going to have if you shoot everything in raw freaking video? You're going to need tons of Drobos and tons of storage, and yes, storage gets cheaper and cheaper as years go on, but Jesus, crimmity crappity, that's a lot of storage that you're going to need. If you're constantly shooting video and pulling stills out of it. Now, something you have to be careful about, especially with something like the 1DC, is that you're not pulling raw files. You're using pretty much a converted. It's like a JPEG file. So if your exposure is wrong, if your white balance is wrong, if your sharpening is wrong, if you get all of that wrong, you don't have as much leeway. So you got to get that right as much as possible exposure-wise in camera. Got to get your focus tack sharpened. The question that I brought up that I don't know that I have the answer to, is this thing shooting 2x3 video, or is it shooting the 16:9 format? Because now we're into a different video format for shooting. It's different than your still photography, where you're in 2x3 instead of 16:9. And also, these guys started to shoot verticals. Verticals are interesting with video, but I mean, are you going to want to shoot vertical video and then grab stills from it instead of just shooting stills? I mean, it's cool. You're a director. It's interesting. I am not going to poo-poo it. Drinking. There's another secret word. Don't poo-poo it. I'm not going to poo-poo it. That's a cool one. I'm drinking water. So, I got to leave myself time. I got to do these questions. So let me just finish up with this and get to those questions. Oh, Canon. I forgot a prediction. 14 to 24 2.8 lens. I think Canon's going to come out with one of those finally for the Hebrew Trinity completion on the Canon side. 14 to 24, 24 to 70, 70 to 200 2.8, and you're completing your Hebrew Trinity on the Canon side. It's time for the 14 to 24. Be interested to see if they build in a filter holder or a way for a filter. It's going to be cool. I want to see it. That's a great lens on the Nikon side. So stills and video, it's not happening tomorrow. It's not happening in 2 years. It's a 4-year thing. You're going to see 4K video. You're going to see you're going to start seeing 8K video, for God's sake. The TVs are going to start coming out at CES this year. 4K TVs are going to come down in price. What are they going to be, 10 grand maybe? They're really awesome. I saw them last year. They're like looking through a window. But you know, so that's about it. I don't think you're going to see video taking your still photo jobs away. I just think you're going to have to adapt with the times, just like we talked about in bumping wheelchairs last time, a couple of RAWtalks ago, where you're going to have to adapt with the times. You're going to have to be at the head of the game. So as technology changes, like me using a Lytro, technology's changing. I want to know how to use it. So I want to be at the forefront of using any technology. That's why I jumped into shooting video with my DSLR right away, because I want to be at the forefront of the changes so that I can make an informed decision of whether or not I am going to be a good, you know, be on the top of it. You don't want to be left behind. You don't want to be the last to jump into it, like the last film photographer to get to digital because you thought digital was a joke. You know, it's not. So that was your look at 2012, back 2013, and now I want to get into the flying solo questions and blow through some of these because we have 15 minutes left of this hour. I like to keep them to an hour. Maybe I'll go a little over, but that's my look back. Those are my predictions. We'll look back in at the end of 2013. You know what I didn't talk about, and I guess I should talk about a little bit. Is anybody asking me? I guess Gretchen asked me this. Now, Gretchen, that's Texas Mama. She is one of the first readers of the website, and I haven't talked to her much lately, but I remember she's got like 6 kids, maybe 7. Don't hold that against me, Gretchen, if I got it wrong. But she has such a great talent and possibility to go really far with her photography, not only having built-in kids and all their friends and all that, like I've talked about before, but she's getting it. She gets it. She's worked hard, and she's becoming a great photographer. So she goes, Jared, you've already accomplished so much. What kind of personal goals do you have? Those are personal, Gretchen. I don't want to tell you my personal goals. Before I do that, why don't I tell you some FroKnowsPhoto goals? I'm moving. I'm making settlement. I bought a place, a cool loft, which makes my old loft look like a kid's toy factory. Not that this one's bigger. It's actually smaller, but it's cooler. I got a freight elevator, guys. It's like big. My dream, there's a personal goal, and I don't want to cry. My personal goal, I always wanted to have where Tom Hanks, I always wanted to have a place like Big. Whether I buy a pinball machine or not, it's always on my list. Every time I go and play them, they're kind of boring, but I don't know. Yeah, so the loft is going to be cool. I can't wait to go in there, and when I finally get in there, I want to do the live show again. Whether it's it's not going to. I don't think it's going to be weekly. I think it's going to be bi-weekly or every 3 weeks. We're going to throw in there a live show, a live filmed, not filmed, but a live show. And I want to use the D800 to do it, using the video out because I want to do really cool video and I want to mix it cool and I want to have guests. I want to kind of make it like a late night TV show and just have guests and talk and shoot, and it's going to be so cool. So with my loft, that's what I'm looking forward to. So, I mean, personal goals and business goals for me have merged over the past. I'm spitting on my screen, Jared. Don't spit on your 27-inch screen. So my goals have merged a lot, but business-wise, you know, FroKnowsPhoto-wise and FroNation, keep on keeping on. We're gonna start production very soon on the flash photography guide, and I called Adam because he is killer with flash photography. And I'll tell you, you guys don't know much about what I do with flash, and I don't do very much with off-camera one flash, you know, because everybody asks, how do we use our flash? All day long, I could set the hell out of a flash. I could set it up in the studio, multiple studio setups. I just don't use it in my workflow when I'm shooting out. Now, I should throw one flash in the bag and get a stand and get an umbrella and use it more and balance it with light, but that's not me fully. That's why Adam's coming in, because that's his workflow. Like 99% of the stuff he does is balancing light out in the wild, and I think you're gonna love the video guide that we come up with. If you enjoyed the beginner, the FroKnowsPhoto beginner guide to getting out of auto, you're gonna love what you're going to see in this flash guide, because it's going to be so hands-on, shooting models and each other and different real-world situations. And I'll just lay this out there, because this is kind of what I'm going to say at the beginning of it, is that once you get the basics down, it's the same as understanding the exposure triangle that we did in Getting Out of Auto in my beginner guide. We're going to do this again in Flash. It's not the same guide, but we're going to go through the basics of Flash, because if you get that down, then it just comes down to power settings and moving your scrims and moving things and just playing around, because you're going to get it and you're just going to get better over time. So good question, Gretchen. Personal goals. I got some personal goals, and that's where I'm going to leave that. I don't mix a lot of you guys know a lot of stuff about me. You don't know everything. I share a lot, with my mom and the cemetery stuff and personal things, but I don't share some of those personal goals. They're personal goals for me. I keep them. We should all have them, and I'm working on it. But I will say, in terms of New Year's resolutions, I am not a New Year's resolution person. I am an action-taking person. If I want to make a change, I make it today. I don't wait until tomorrow. I don't set a goal and a date and say, I want to do that next year, or I want to do that when I'm 30. I set a goal, and this is not even a goal. I didn't set it. I did it. 3 years ago, before I started the site, or right when I was starting it, I wanted to transform my body. I'm going to go over time. I know this. I wanted to transform my body, and I wanted to do it before I was 30. So I said, screw it. I'm not going to do what everybody else does and say, I'm going to do this when I turn 30. I wanted to do it before, and it worked, and I loved it. And I think by transforming my body and my mind, it helped everything. It helped my business. Jackie Blakeney. What has been your favorite road trip? ? Any tips or suggestions on how to safely carry and manage your gear at a huge event like South by Southwest? I do, Jackie. I have answers for you. Favorite road trip so far? I gotta go. The Perry Farrell road trip. Ari was there for a lot of it. Was an incredible experience to be on the road for 8 weeks, to go crisscross the country, to go up and down the East Coast, to fly out west, to play in Texas, to play in Colorado, to go into Canada. That was an incredible road trip. Now, I want to take more road trips like the FroKnowsPhoto. I want to do here's a goal, Gretchen. We want to do a FroKnowsPhoto tour in 2013. We'll travel on weekends, Adam and I and Ari probably, and we'll fly from different cities each weekend to do boot camps. Like Chicago, I know they're waiting for it. Chicago, and we need to do Boston. We need to do New York. Whether we do both, I don't know. We need to do something like DC, but then we need to go and do Texas. And Nashville's been waiting for us. I think Nashville's a great place. Where else? Seattle, Portland, where the 90s are still alive. We may do one there. So there's, in California, and Canada. I told Canada I'm not coming back. I'm not going to go to Canada to do a boot camp until hockey comes back. No. So tips and suggestions for safely carry and manage your gear at a huge event like South by Southwest. Jackie, you're going to need a backpack, an easy backpack to use that you can grab your lenses, couple lenses, not too many. Your 70-200, your 24-60, my Hebrew Trinity. You're going to want to carry that stuff. Make sure you have eyes on it at all time. That's why you need it in your backpack. There's a lot of walking needed. You got to drink a lot of water down at South by Southwest. If you don't have a photo media credential, they may not let you in. So that's something you want to check with each venue. But I think you should be able to take your cameras in with you. But here's what you should know. If you're going for the music aspect of it, the venues are terrible for shooting photos. They're really not meant for photos. These are bars. These are bars that are just open, and they're not venues. So they transform them into venues, but you don't get great pictures inside as much. There's a lot of stuff happening on the street. There's a lot of life and street photography to capture. So focus in on that. But just keep eyes on your gear. Michael Dunlap. Do you think DX will go away? Not in the next year, of course. Will Nikon and Canon's lineup eventually be a full frame? I think this is why I talked about this earlier, Michael, so I did answer that. Yeah, DX gone, couple years. Full frame in the lower end, yep, coming in. So there. And then I had to point out Cameron Pollock said G plus fail, LOL, never. I already talked about that. Dale Salmon, as a question. If you weren't a pro working photographer, what would influence your decision on buying a new lens, camera, piece of equipment? As you wouldn't have the budget to pick the high brand Nikon stuff all the time, so you'd have to take that more into consideration. This would appeal to most of us amateur photographers with not so much money. Like for a lens, would you look for focal length first, followed by price, followed by aperture, etc., etc.? Thanks. I mean, you got a price shop. You know, I hear this all the time. If you weren't a pro, but you're looking to become a pro, there's a different mentality than if you're just an amateur, and an 18-300 lens or 28-300 would serve you well with everything you do. If you're just a shooter and you don't care, no. Not that you don't care, but you're not looking to become a pro, you just want to get pretty good pictures, then buy a 28-300. One lens to rule them all. I did see The Hobbit, by the way. One lens to see them all, to rule them all, and that could do it for you. What I look for is not price, I look for quality. People ask me all the time, what is a really good quality, affordable, cheap lens? We're not so expensive. And it's like, it doesn't exist. Don't try to cheap out. And I'm not saying, and I'm not ripping on people, because if you can't afford it, you can't freaking afford it. And I couldn't afford lenses at times, and I've worked my ass off to afford the lenses that I have, and I've been smart when I buy my lenses and trade good glass for better glass. And if we don't need to talk about that again, but if you're looking at it, buy the lenses first that serve you the best. A 24-70, a 70-200 is if you're doing sports and portraits. A 70-200, I'd buy that over an 85 1.4 personally, because it's more versatile. Get the staples first before you get the primes. In my opinion, they're going to serve you better. Adam would tell you the other way, he'd be like all over primes, but that's for what he's shooting. For what I'm shooting, I'm all about the 70-200 2.8 as being one of the best starting lenses for portraits and things like that. In terms of budget, invest in good glass. I invest in quality glass. It comes down to quality. Quality first over anything else. Aperture, I want my 2.8 lenses. I want my 1.4 lenses. But if you're going to go into it with the mentality of, I want something really good, but I want great quality with not a big price. It doesn't happen. It doesn't exist. You got to put the money out. So save your money. You can buy the Samsung Sigmas, Tamrons, Tokinas. They're very good. They'll hold their value. They may not be built as good as some of the Nikons and Canons. You may run into an issue at some point with some copies, but if you get a bad one, they get replaced. You get a new one, and it usually is better. So that's my answer for that. Steve Talmates. With new technology coming out, make it easier, I think Will or something, make it easier and easier to produce professional looking photos where you'd see professional photography in the, where do I see? God, you guys got to type this out better. So will new technology coming out make it easier and easier, or maybe he means with, I'll just figure it out myself. No, my answer is no. I don't think technology makes it easier and easier to make professional photos. You may get better quality, but still, you're not going to get more. The gear doesn't make you. You make the freaking gear. The gear helps. It does help. Quality gear does help, but you are the person baking the cake. The oven isn't a good chef. The chef isn't good because of his oven. He's good because he's good with making stuff. So I don't think that technology it doesn't make it easier and easier to get more professional looking photos. It gets better quality, but that doesn't mean that the person shooting the picture knows what they're doing with their camera to give them good results. They may never be able to get the decisive moment. So no. Shari Waldron Neuroth. I got it right. I bet you I got it right. Neuroth. That is Neuroth, Neuroth. Jared, going out of the country for 2 weeks and you have a limited space and weight for traveling, what would be your lens of choice? I'm going to say lenses of choice. If I could only take 2 lenses and the Hebrew Trinity wasn't allowed, I would take the 14-24 and the 70-200 2.8. Why? Because the 14 has a 24 and the 70 is the 70-200. Either I'll shoot at 24 on the 14-24, or I'll shoot 70, so I don't really need that 24-70. And if I just have the 24 of the 14-24, I can always step and get a little bit closer. But I love the aspect of ultra-wide more so than the 24-70. If I had to choose one lens, it'd probably be a 24-70. Because I got wide and a zoom telephoto, sort of. But that's if I only had one. If I could take two, 14 to 24, 24 to 70. Vincent DeRuiter, what are the important features and unrecognized features with entry-level DSLRs? Question mark. For instance, when looking at the Nikon D5100, so here's my answer. I'm going to take this a whole different direction. There's more bells and whistles in a lower-end DSLR than there are in a pro camera. My thing, I don't use any of the bells and whistles in the cameras. I don't use the camera modes that make decisions for you. I don't think there are important features. I think the only important features are that you can shoot manual. Can you shoot manual? Can you independently? Do you have a front dial to change your aperture and a back to change your shutter speed? You're going to see that not in the 5100, not in the T3i, but you start to see it in the D7000 type range. But if you have manual controls, that's what is the important. Those are the important features to look at in your digital SLRs. Will Nikon ever make a digital? So this is from Brian Dorsey. No, Dorsey. It can't be Dorsey. It's Dorsey. Will Nikon ever make a digital Nikonis scuba camera? Absolutely not. That time, that ship has sailed. That submarine has sunk. That plane has flown away. That stork has left the nest. That baby has left the poo. I'm going to take a drink of water after that one. So reason is no. Because why do they need to build a dedicated camera that is only usable for underwater when you can just get a really awesome Leica-like housing, or some of the other people that make them? Underwater housings are incredible. They're expensive. Some of them are $3,000, but when you can get an amazing housing, you don't need a dedicated underwater camera. It's a good question, though. Is this the last one? Chris Pasqua. Question for RAWtalk. Do women dig the fro? Yes, they do. Women dig the fro. They want to touch it. I'm in the bar. They want to touch it. Now, there are rules to touching the fro. You don't just walk over to me and start patting my head. No. You don't also come over to me drunk as a woman either and try to touch me. It doesn't happen. Even though you're drunk, I don't want you touching the fro. Just ask. Just ask. Anybody comes over there, can I touch it? Absolutely, yes. As long as you're not drunk and your hands aren't sticky and you don't try to be a dick about it. Because guys can be dicks. I mean, I walked into a bar one day and this guy made like he was going to rest the beer on my head. And he was like 6'4", and I was like, dude, that's not good. I'm like, that's not funny. And he's like, yeah, it is. And I just got in his face. I don't know why, but I was like, that's not funny. I'm like, I wouldn't do that to you. Don't disrespect me. Don't disrespect anybody. And it's just disrespectful that the guy tried to make a joke out of me. Not just because it's me, but to make a joke out of anybody to their face, because we all make jokes behind people's backs. But we shouldn't, but we do. But don't be disrespectful. Don't be a dick. So yeah, the women do dig the fro. Also, does the fro ever get a shape up? No. The fro has not, and it needs it. I need to go to Mr. Perry, Dante Perry. He's a cool guy. He is a barber, and he will trim it. It's been 5 years. October of last year was about 5 years since my head was shaved, and I went on tour with Perry Farrell, and it's been growing ever since. It needs a trim up. I want it to look like it did after year one. Like 4 years ago, it was like the perfect shape. So I need to do it. I'm just afraid to get my hair cut, actually. I don't want to ruin it. I don't want any issues. I just don't want to have any issues. So no, but it does need a trim job. So thank you guys for listening this week. You got your RAWtalk super secret words. We ended 2012. We're jumping into 2013. We've got a lot of work to do continually. We've got a lot of stuff. I don't want to sit here. I don't like being the guy that's like, really big things coming, new thing coming. I just announce things when they happen. Like, I am working on stuff. We're always working on stuff. I am always thinking of new things to make things better. But I don't like teasing and saying, like, you know, big things coming tomorrow. Might as well just announce it. You already got people's attention. You know, so for me saying that talking about the flash guide, I gave you a lot of information about what we're working on. So it's not saying, like, I got super secret thing I'm working on, I can't tell you, because I'm not going to tell you that anyway. But, yeah, so it's going to be a good year, and I hope you guys have a great year, too. Thank you guys for all of the support over the, I don't know, what's it, almost 3 years. June will be 3 years in the site. It's a big thing. The Fro Nation has grown, and it's grown because of you guys, and I think you're a really good community. We set out to be a positive community and continue to be a positive place to help photographers become better, to get the mentality through that we have to help our fellow photographers. There's no reason to not help somebody and take them under your wing. Shit, you could take a 60-year-old person under their wing who just picked up a camera, and you could be 15 or 16 and teaching them. That's a cool thing. Age doesn't matter in this. So helping people is what it's about, and giving back to the photo community. And the reason I say this is because nobody can do what you do. Why? Because you are you. People can try to copy, they can emulate, but they're not you. So I don't worry about people coming along and being like, oh, they're going to steal your job. Nah, whatever. If they steal my job, they steal my job. They're not going to steal my job. You have a style to yourself. That is your thing to form, but help everybody out. So, the community continues to grow. I want to keep traveling. I want to keep helping, and I want to keep growing, and personally and business-wise. And I hope you guys are there to join along for the journey. And the guys that have been there since day one, thank you. The people coming along today, thank you as well. Wow, I actually didn't do who brought to you by RAWtalk. I got to thank Alan's Camera again. It's the end of the year and the beginning of the new one. Without Alan's support from day one, from being there from day one as a sponsor to allow me to not only come in and play with gear, but to help me out, with all of that stuff, has helped the site. Because I wouldn't have been able to grow as quickly as I was without some of the things that he allowed me to do and the things that he's afforded me to do. So I support Alan's Camera. I've had offers from the bigger stores. They want me to work on like a commission basis and push people towards them. They don't need the help from me. But it's flattering that they want help from me, that they want you guys, but I don't want to go to the big ass stores. I want to stick with the mom and pop store, the store that I worked at, the store that can compete with the big guys, and that is Alan's Camera. And I want to support a small. They have 4 employees, for God's sake, 4 or 5. I mean, Brandon's there. Brandon's Alan's son, and he's the future of Alan's Camera. And you got Rob and Marlena. I mean, those are your main people that are there. It's a mom and pop store, and they compete with the big guys, and we got to keep taking care of the little people. That's the way that we survive as a country. Even in foreign countries, guys, you got to take care of your small stores. So alanscamera.com, if you guys are looking for gear, just tell them the Fro sent you. Maybe you'll get something cool, a different price, a better price. Not a different, but maybe something better, maybe some free stuff. That's it. Thank you, guys. And don't forget about the FroKnowsPhoto Beginner Guide. Don't forget to sign up for the email list. Don't forget to check out the podcast on the RAWtalk on iTunes and subscribe. So really appreciate you guys so much. Thank you to everybody out there. Hope you have a happy, healthy new year, 2013 going forward. May you take lots of raw pictures and get some good ones while you're at it. Jared Polin, FroKnowsPhoto.com. See ya. Thank you for watching this video. If you'd like to subscribe to my YouTube channel, just click the subscribe button right here below the video, as YouTube has made the change. And one more thing, click on subscription updates, manage subscriptions, and if you would like to get an email every time I upload a new video, click this box. If you'd like to see it in your feed on YouTube, click that box. And over on FroKnowsPhoto.com, if you haven't signed up for the FroKnowsPhoto email list, you can go ahead and put your name in this box, your email in this box, hit send it, and I will send you a free photo guide, a guide to capturing motion in low light situations. If you're new to photography or you're somewhere in the intermediate range looking to learn a little bit more about your camera and how to get out of auto, don't forget about the FroKnowsPhoto Beginner Guide, a guide to getting out of auto. It's at a special price right now. It's a 3-hour-long video. You can buy it as an instant download or as a physical copy with free shipping around the world. So thank you guys very much for watching.